Welcome, everyone. I'm Tom Farmer, and you're listening to Health Talks. We want to share information between patients, employers, and doctors. Together, we can all make healthcare more accessible for everyone. So every Wednesday morning at 8 a.m., let's spend 6 to 8 minutes on the most talked about issue of the week. Hi, everyone. This week, rather than a question, we have the fortune to have Jim Sheldon here, the managing director of the Sheldon Group. And the Sheldon Group is a peer-to-peer marketing organization that connects doctors with doctors. Hey, Jim, thanks for dropping by.
Hey, Tom, thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, you're welcome. This is going to be fun.
Okay.
So let me jump right in here, and I want to ask you, for all the doctors listening and the physicians, what is the opportunity for physicians in direct pay these days?
Well, I think that with all that's going on with healthcare right now, and I think that, the doctors that I talk to are either incredibly optimistic or they're incredibly pessimistic. However, I tend to be more in the former than the latter group. I think that this is a real time of opportunity. I think that the way things are going right now, it really is the wave of the future. I mean, the way insurance and you just stop me because I'll knit a flag here, Tom. I'll talk all day about this, but the way that things are right now with these incredibly high deductibles, we're almost in a cash network anyway. These patients have anywhere between $3,000 and $10,000 deductibles, so that when you need any kind of procedure done, you're pretty much going out of pocket. So getting physicians comfortable with transitioning to a cash model or moving into a cash pay network it's there. It's just a matter of just kind of recognizing what it is for what it is, and just saying, okay, this is something we can do.
Well, we get a lot of questions. I'll just jump in here.
Sure.
But I get questions all the time that are, how is paying cash going to help me, the patient? And we don't necessarily need to cover that now. But I'm looking at, since you're the doctor guy, I mean, you're the one helping doctors in their practice. And I know as a customer, for me, I want my doctor happy. I want my doctor not worrying about cash flow. Sure. And so I know that's going to help me. So from that standpoint, how do doctors feel when they know they have the option to be able to have cash paid the day of service? Absolutely. Rather than waiting? What are the strains on cash flows for doctors and their practices?
Okay, well, I think as the old saying goes, cash is king. Looking at it from a physician's point of view, if they were able to get cash instead of insurance from their patients, I think every physician would do that all day long. The problem is that they're concerned that, I don't want to go in there and have to negotiate, and then I feel like I'm a businessman. Like, if there was a way that it was just set up where I could just put my prices out there and people knew what my prices were, and if they pay me at the time of service, I mean, that's ideal. That's the model. I'm fortunate enough to work in most of the major metropolitan areas in the United States, and in cities like New York and in Dallas and in Los Angeles, where I'm based out of. There are a number of physicians that only take cash; they don't take insurance. So that is the future.
Well, sure. Those are the lucky ones that have gotten to that space. I feel like I've talked to different physicians. They all have different setups and structures. One of the things, though, that I've noticed, it seems like, and it'd be great to get the number from you, but I hear from some admins in physicians' offices that for every one patient that they take in to do a procedure, 4 or 5 or 6 actually go out the door. Not really, but when they call in to check their insurance, they find out they've got an $8,000 deductible, and the procedure might be $7,000, and the person on the phone and the benefits manager says, okay, sir, your deductible's $8,000. You've met $42 of it. How do you want to pay this $7,000? And that's when they find out, they don't have the insurance they thought they did. Absolutely. So what is that number in your opinion? I mean, I heard one person say 4 or 5. Right. We have 29 people say no for every one we get. What would you say that number is for most physicians?
It's variable by demographics as far as what part of the country it is. It's variable by what kind of procedures that the doc is doing, but it's high. I mean, like I would say that depending on the procedure, it's as high as 50%. Like for every patient that comes in, maybe you're losing a patient, but it could be 100%. It could be even higher. I know doctors out here in Los Angeles that do spine surgery, and I think they're lucky if they get 1 in 10.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's really tough on the doctors. And I'm not, it's funny. I'm becoming kind of a doctor advocate. I mean, our direct pay networks are, primarily really started mostly for the patient because the patient obviously is trying to save some money and they're looking for a quality doctor. It's ironic because the patients don't want a discount doctor.
Right.
They want a doctor that is getting their full fees. Right. They're happy to do the procedure. Everything's working normally. Right. And so what's happening in these direct pay networks is they're removing all of those middle costs and layers. Right. And how does that affect the happiness for the doctor? I mean, I know the doctor is basically passing all that savings of admin, paperwork, right. billing, coding, all that extra stuff. Sure. They're just passing all that savings straight to the patient. Right, exactly. So how does that affect the doctor in that regard?
Well, I think it affects the doctor. It's great. I mean, and I think another thing too that you haven't mentioned is that I think a lot of doctors would like to have more of a cash-based model, but they're afraid that a lot of them feel like, well, I don't want. What if I charge too much? Will I lose all my patients? Is it going to make me? Is this going to hurt my practice? And what is the right price? Because a lot of doctors I work with who have talked about it say, well, the reason I don't take cash is I just try to figure out what my break-even costs are, and that's what I charge the patient. They don't think about, well, I should, the patients are willing to pay more than my break-even. And I think if doctors knew that, I think a lot more would jump in because it is the future.
Well, there's a big gap there too.
Sure.
Because as we understand it, I mean, first of all, you've got the crazy billing
Sure.
from the hospitals that charge in California right. 832% of the Medicare price. Wow. So, if you're 65 and you break your leg, you're going to pay, $10,000. If you're 55 and you break your leg, you're paying 8 times that,
right,
$80,000.
Right. Absolutely.
Obviously not for a broken leg, but I'm just giving you the ratio. Right. So what's interesting is that the big insurers come in, and we've talked about this on other podcasts, and so they give a huge discount, the BUCAs, Blue Cross, Anthem, United, Aetna, whatever. They give a giant discount, which is about 60%, and that brings the price down to about 3 times Medicare. Right. Now, as I understand it, the doctor's not getting this money.
Not at all.
Everybody thinks it's the doctor. Right. So the doctor could take way below that.
Absolutely.
And the doctor would be getting their full fee. It's all that other stuff right. that just gets set aside and goes to savings right in the customer's pocket.
Well, exactly. So, and the thing, too, is that doctors also factor in the cost that to collect a dollar, it's not free. You've got to send a patient a bill. You've got to balance bill. You've got to pay someone to stay on top of them. If you have, if you've got a billing company, you're either paying someone an hourly rate or you're paying them a percentage of the monies collected. So that's a cost. That's a true cost that's in there as well.
Okay. Hey, Jim, thanks for coming by
Sure.
because you know what? We are at 8 minutes. And
Okay.
what I like to do on this Health Talks is we like to sort of get one thing in. We like to get it answered, share a guest.
Sure.
And for some reason, I don't know, we have an 8-minute number, but we're at 8 minutes. So thanks,
right.
everyone, for listening. And Jim, thank you so much for coming by and sharing what the Sheldon Group is doing out there. You guys are doing great work.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
If you liked our podcast, please share it. We're all going to be customers in the healthcare business at some point. So join our mission, our partnership of physicians and patients, and let's make healthcare more accessible for everyone. Please review, rate, and subscribe. Submit your questions. You can go to our blog at Healora, HEALORA.com/health talks. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for listening.